Hey now, what is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and I am here to talk about my favorite movies of 2018, the top 10 best movies of the year. Let's start with number 10, jump right into it. Ready Player One. I know some people are like, wait, what? Really? That movie? Yeah, I don't know what it is. I saw this in the theater and it just blew me away. Whereas I know Ty Sheridan and Olivia Cooke, maybe their love story was a bit rushed, and maybe Ben Mendelsohn, who has played a villain in virtually every single movie of 2018, yeah, maybe he was a little cliched and generic, but I still connected to this. I did. I connected to the story of the poor kid who wanted to make something of himself and get out of the slums, and your typical story of the underdog. The visuals were really something that took me by surprise. Just the CGI that I was a little worried about beforehand, but completely lived up. You had the nostalgia, you had the music, you had the references. Number 9, Black Klansman. This is a Spike Lee joint that I really appreciated. It was based on a true story, so it's crazy to think about John David Washington, Denzel Washington's son, who plays this guy that can pretend to have a white guy voice, which is quite hilarious. And he uses this voice to get in touch with the Ku Klux Klan, and he tries to join them and get in with what they're doing. And then Adam Driver has to pretend to be the guy in person. And to be honest, as good as John David Washington was, Adam Driver is what sold this for me. Number 8, Creed 2. I know this isn't as good as Creed 1, and for some people that was enough of a disappointment, but I still enjoyed this. I still connected with Michael B. Jordan as Adonis Creed, seeing his relationship with Tessa Thompson go to that next level, seeing them have a baby and everything going on with the hearing and if that would carry over. Sylvester Stallone as Rocky. You can't ever go wrong with having Rocky involved some way, somehow. But maybe this is his last one. We'll see if he sticks by that. Ivan Drago, bringing that story back from Rocky 4. I wondered how they were able to take something that was played up more campy all the way back in the 80s and to bring it in with the Creed stance, the tone, and make it more serious, but they pulled it off. I love the relationship with Dolph Lundgren and his son and their backstory. Number 7, Searching with John Cho. Here's a guy that I know is mostly maybe known for comedy, or at least to me, known for comedy, and he blew me away. This is a one-man show. There's some other good actors in this as well. The movie does take some twists and turns that surprise me, but just playing a father, somebody who is desperate and does virtually everything he can to search for his daughter, and he finds out stuff about her that might not be flattering thing, but it still is important. You see how much this she means to him, and even the style of the found footage or through the computer, the laptop. We've seen it before in other movies, but I still think is innovative enough to make this stand out and feel fresh. Speaking of fresh, number 6, Upgrade. I wanted to put this higher on the list. I really did. Lee Whannell, who's a guy that's written and been a part of some of my favorite horror movies of all time. He wrote and directed this film, which is more sci-fi, more futuristic. I love those little moments of where you got to see the futuristic aspects of it, where you got to see how advanced this car was. And that was great, but when you find our main character, played by Logan Marshall Green, here's a guy in the trailer for this movie that everybody called the discount Tom Hardy. They made fun of it and said, oh, this isn't going to be probably that great. And then you watch the movie and now I'll remember this guy's name. In fact, Upgrade was a far superior version and should have been what Venom should have been. Number 5, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie I saw very recently and I'm still giddy over it. The animation I thought was great. Some fresh and new things with animation and how these characters pop on screen. Feels like a comic book film. Miles Morales, so nice to see this character on the big screen. His backstory being told, seeing a Spider-Man that is of this race, black and Hispanic, just represented so well. But you also have that Peter Parker element in, so you don't lose that. And this multiverse is something that maybe to some people is confusing and hard to follow along, but I love it. It gives you the freedom to do so much, and all of the Spider-Man references and all of the Easter eggs that made me very happy. Gwen Stacy was a big part of the film and possibly my favorite. Or number 4, Mission Impossible Fallout. How is it that we're at 6 movies now with the Mission Impossible franchise, and they're getting better and better and better? The first 2 are there, they're watchable, but ever since part 3, it's just been crazy villain, crazy story, one after another. Tom Cruise going for broke with these stunts, and he even injured himself during this movie. Henry Cavill finally stepping out of the Superman character and giving us a character, a villain that I thought was interesting. Simon Pegg, Vin Rames, characters who have been with the franchise for a while now, very much needed. But Rebecca Ferguson, I love her inclusion, her introduction from the last movie, how she stuck around and is still a badass and still a great character, female character for the series. Number 3, Halloween, the return of Halloween. This is very high on my list, I know, but I was so happy. For somebody that's a big horror fan, that's number 1. I got a really good horror movie. And also, I'm somebody who's a huge slasher fan. So that's another reason why I was happy. We finally get just a dude in a mask going around and killing people. That's far more scary to me than ghosts and demons and possessions and blah, 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 blah. But Jamie Lee Curtis coming back as Laurie Strode is huge. It's a huge endorsement for the franchise. She's clearly somebody who believes in this character, believes in this story. She was very passionate in all of the interviews I saw going into it. She gives some great performances throughout this movie. One scene in particular where she really wins you over as somebody who has been through so much, who is tortured. She's very strong and she's capable, but she also has been through a lot with her daughter and granddaughter. And then they made Michael Myers scary again. That's almost the most important thing you had to get right in bringing this franchise back, is that you had to make him scary. They gave him a bunch of death scenes that was memorable and violent and bloody, and I loved it. Number 2, Black Panther. I already talked about how great this movie is. Ryan Coogler, everything that he brought with this character, and how mainstream Black Panther is now, as much of a success it was now. I already talked about this in my superhero list, so I just want to reiterate, Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger, amazing, and he had 2 great films, 2 great movies that are on my list back to back. But for my number 1 favorite movie of 2018, surprise, Avengers Infinity War. What more can I say about this movie that I haven't said already? Well, Thanos. You want to talk about villains and somebody that is memorable and has now become a huge character, face in pulp culture history. They brought it. Thanos, he had one goal, and not just the one goal that was understandable and you're willing to go with it, but he succeeded. How many big budgeted blockbuster movies do you have a villain that wins and all of the heroes lose or die? The movie being broken up into almost three sections, four, but three sections of Iron Man, Spider Man, Doctor Strange, Bruce Banner. That whole sequence in New York is great. And then they end up in space. But then you have Thor and Rocket and Groot going off to create a new weapon, and then Star-Lord with the Guardians, and Gamora and her connection to Thanos, and the backstory. Even Nebula gets so much to do, being the daughters of Thanos. And Captain America, Black Widow, them being the Secret Avengers, Captain America with a beard. He looked badass. Scarlet Witch, Vision, their love story, tragic and sad. And then we go to Wakanda and that huge battle in Wakanda. It's just so much goodness. So much that just talking about it makes me want to rewatch it again. This is a film that is over 2 hours long, and I have not gotten sick of it. I have not gotten sick of watching it, rewatching it, or talking about it. So, guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of my best movies of 2018? Do you think I left something off the list? What's some of your favorite movies of the year? Thanks for listening. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!